The Alabama Farmers Federation is proud to present the Outstanding Young Farm Families of 2011. They are the future of agriculture in Alabama. Winners were selected from 12 commodity divisions, and from that group, 6 were chosen as finalists for the overall title of Alabama's Outstanding Young Farm Family. Here is a quick look at each of this year's division winners. The 100-acre farm Jamie and Amy Griffin operate has been in his family for more than 100 years. But when Jamie joined the operation, it was little more than a place that had cows to keep the grass eaten down. But Jamie was able to convince his dad there was money to be made with cattle. Just last year, they doubled the size of their herd to 65 brood cows and 3 bulls. Today, they're managing pastures, rotating cattle, and making money. The Griffins also operate a horse boarding facility housing between 10 and 18 horses at a time. Because of this, they are the winners in the beef and equine divisions. Jamie and Amy have a 2-year-old daughter, Sawyer, and are expecting another child in February. Stan and Kayla Ursery are producing cotton and soybeans, corn, wheat, and chickens on more than 500 acres in Limestone County. While Stan was growing up, cattle and forage production accompanied the poultry operation, but when he returned home from college, he and his dad decided to keep the chickens and transition from cattle to row crops. In the last 14 years, that operation has grown from a mere 27 acres to more than 500 today. Stan also operates a consulting business providing management assistance and cotton nematode testing for area farmers. He and Kayla have a 4-year-old daughter, Jessa. What do you call a dairy farmer who doesn't milk cows? Well, in Cherokee County, they call him Isaac Jones. Isaac was raised on a dairy and center that his mother and her sister ran. Recently, though, his mom sold the dairy cattle and switched to beef production. But Isaac still plans to make his living in the dairy industry. Having just graduated from high school in May, he's off to Auburn to get a degree in animal science with a minor in agricultural engineering. Later, he plans to start a dairy herd doing embryonic transplants. His goal is to produce top-quality cows that produce more milk and sell them to other farmers for their herds. John Hegeman was born in the Dominican Republic, the son of missionaries. While growing up, he lived in Canada and several places in the southeastern U.S. Now, although he's not from an agricultural background, he says he was fascinated by farming from the time he saw Dominican farmers harvesting sugar cane by hand and transporting it by ox-drawn cart to market. After working at a number of different type farms while growing up, John and his wife Amy have settled in Calhoun County, producing accent plants in greenhouses that cover 8 acres. They also train a number of horses and provide riding lessons. John and Amy are expecting their first child in February. At just 18 years old, Michael Eberhardt Jr. is far ahead of most young men his age. He owns a 30-head cow herd and cuts and bales all the hay he feeds them. Michael's agricultural education got started working on his family's farm and continued on a nearby farm that his dad's managed for nearly 30 years. Michael says they feed most of the hay they produce to their cattle and only sell hay that's left over after the winter has passed. Having just graduated from high school, Michael's next goal is to get a degree in farm and ranch management, then return to DeKalb County and begin farming on his own. Allie Cochran is a 3rd-generation farmer, but she's not continuing the tradition of success on her family's farm. Instead, Allie and her sister Cassie Young decided to start their own agricultural operation from scratch. The sisters are producing produce on about 20 acres along U.S. Highway 431 north of Eufaula. Allie handles growing the corn, squash, and other fruits and vegetables, while her sister runs the business side of the farm. Allie says the greatest reward in her job is hearing praises from satisfied customers. Mike Dole grew up on a beef and poultry farm, but the operation came to a halt in 2005 when an accident prevented his father from continuing to farm. When Mike decided to get the place back into agriculture, he opted for a smaller animal that his children could help with. He studied everything he could get his hands on, and today has a herd of Kiko, Spanish, and Boer meat goats. Besides his extensive knowledge of goats gained through Extension and Tennessee State University, Mike is licensed by the Alabama Department of Agriculture and the USDA to handle meat and poultry sales to stores in Alabama. He and his wife Teresa have 3 children, Katie Sue, Henry, and Evelyn. Kevin Stevens didn't grow up around agriculture, but he says he always knew that farming was what he wanted to do for a living. 7 years ago, he and his wife Ashley started their farm with just 20 acres. Today, they're producing peanuts, cotton, small grains, and cattle on about 1,000 acres near Troy. Because of where he came from and where he is today, Kevin says it's important for him to be an ambassador for agriculture and to show other young farmers it can be done. Kevin and Ashley have 1 daughter, Mary Holland. Jeremy and Lindsay Brown produce about 500,000 chickens a year on their 37-acre farm south of Montgomery. But Farmer Brown says his work is not done when the lights go out in his 6 chicken houses. The Browns make time to promote agriculture whenever they can. They spread the word through the internet with farm tours and classroom demonstrations. They even have a 20-foot Farming Feeds Alabama sign at the end of their driveway. Jeremy's the 3rd generation of his family in the poultry business, and he and Lindsay are looking forward to raising their daughters, Ansley and Lydia Grace, with an appreciation for agriculture. Ben Looney grew up on his family's Limestone County farm, but when he went into business for himself, he started from scratch with 200 acres. Now, although Ben wasn't farming with his dad, he helped Ben get started by letting him use equipment. 14 years later, Ben and his wife Miranda have expanded their row crop operation to cover more than 1,100 acres in the Tennessee Valley. Like his dad, Ben's taking the time to teach his sons, Colby and Clay, about agriculture. This year, Colby drove the grain cart for the first time, and Miranda says Clay loves their farming lifestyle. Jason Kleckler didn't intend to become a farmer. It just sort of came with the ring. When he and his wife Leslie got married, his new father-in-law offered him a job in the family business, raising game birds. Today, Jason's responsible for the day-to-day operation of the farm, including feeding, health, and hatch management. The Klecklers produce 150,000 quail, pheasant, and chukar a year for hunting preserves in Alabama, Tennessee, and Georgia. In addition to the birds, the Klecklers have a herd of about 40 cows that Jason describes as an important asset to the farm. Jason says the work is far different than his old desk job, but he loves the difference. Now you've met the winners in each of our 12 divisions, each family operating successful farms, and all agricultural leaders. This summer, a team of judges visited the operations of our 6 finalists. Tonight, one of them will be named Alabama's Outstanding Young Farm Family for 2011.